Javier Becerra, Chairman of the Democratic Caucus, joined by our Vice Chairman, Joe Crowley of New York, and the co-chair of our Steering and Policy Committee on the Democratic side, Rob Andrews of New Jersey. We just finished a welcome back to Congress meeting with our members in the Democratic Caucus, a very well-attended meeting, which included a number of different subjects. We spent most of the time discussing the latest news on the implementation of the Affordable Care Act, our health security law, and the progress that has been made over the last month in getting the system operating to a point where all Americans will have an opportunity to seek out and secure, in many cases for the first time, quality, affordable health insurance that will forever keep them from ever having to worry about going bankrupt because they happen to have taken their son or daughter to the hospital. That's good news, and we were pleased to hear the report from the administration on where they've gone, from the major improvements on access to the website for the marketplace to the new features that allow individuals to shop before they apply so they can see what's out there, and if they like what they see, then they can go forward with the application. All of those things are good news. And because we know there is a demand out there in America for affordable health care that keeps you secure at home, knowing that you can go to your doctor or visit the hospital if necessary, we know that there are members in the American community who are going to want to visit the website or phone call the phone number or visit the navigators, the so-called assistants and the counselors who help you apply for this care. So much so that yesterday we were told that over 1 million Americans logged on to the website to shop again. This is after 2 months of trashing of the website and 2 months of efforts by our colleagues on the Republican side to dismantle the Affordable Care Act. And so clearly we know that Americans are interested in guaranteeing themselves and their family members good quality affordable health care. We also know that November was a better month for applications for the health insurance policies under the marketplace than October. Not just better, but 4 times better. And so clearly there is an increased attention to the activities on the website and an increased interest in what is offered in insurance policies through the marketplace. And we hope that continues because that was the purpose of the Affordable Care Act. And so for us, it's about keeping on task. It's about continuing to build and to focus on our job. And job one for us is to make it work and to make sure that every American has access to quality affordable health care. Because the real task in front of all Americans is getting America working the way it was before, putting Americans to work, getting some Americans back to work, and making sure that American business is creating all the jobs that all those Americans are hungry to apply for. And so we'd like to make sure that Congress gets to all its work, not just health care, but all its work. And while we're trying to fix it, not dismantle or shut it down, we also want Americans to know that we're going to continue to work on building the opportunities for new jobs by making sure that we're rebuilding our roads and fixing our schools and giving innovation a chance to give another entrepreneur a chance to open a new business. That's what Congress should be about. But as you can see, some of us are very concerned that our colleagues on the other side of the aisle, our Republican colleagues, have focused so much attention, in fact, obsessed in killing the Affordable Care Act, that they've failed to focus on the real needs of America, and that is to get Americans back to work, build our infrastructure, get the Farm Bill done, finally fix a broken immigration system, and deal with the budget in a way that makes sense to all Americans. We hope that we can get our Republican colleagues to join us on getting to work on all these issues that can be done. And we believe that every politician should be able to walk and chew gum. And we're ready to say we're not only ready to walk and chew gum, but to make sure everybody in America has affordable health care, that we pass a comprehensive immigration reform that fixes our broken immigration system, that gives people a right to work and get paid a dignified wage. We want to make sure America is working. And with that, let me yield now to our Vice Chairman, Joe Crowley.
Thank you, Chairman Becerra. I think we were all very pleased this morning to hear the advancements that have been made to rectify the problems with the website as it pertains to the Affordable Care Act. But let's not forget that Affordable Care isn't just about a website. It's about providing affordable care for millions of Americans who heretofore have not had that opportunity to own their own insurance to cover the needs of their families. But we need to be on, I was talking about other issues as well. And as my mother always said, don't put off till tomorrow what you can get done today. Well, apparently my Republican colleagues didn't get that same message from their moms, or at least it didn't sink through. And as you can see here, we have a list, jobs and infrastructure, the 2014 budget, immigration reform, a minimum wage, ENDA, unemployment insurance, the Farm Bill, and we have the Brady background check. And there are other issues as well. This is just some of the many issues that we have yet to rectify and to solve. And we only have 8 days left before we end this legislative year. All F's. Failure to get it done. We should not settle for failure. We should be striving for success. These are not issues of the Democratic Caucus. These are issues of Americans, all Americans, regardless of political persuasion. And we have a responsibility to get these done. I don't want to disappoint my mom. Mrs. Crowley will not be disappointed. I'm doing everything I can. I hope my Republican colleagues are paying attention to Mama Crowley, and because you don't want Mama Crowley mad at you. Maybe listen to their mothers, listen to the people of America who want to move our Congress forward and not be labeled as the most do-nothing Congress in the history of the United States, because that's what they're become. That's what they will have become. That's not a marker that I would like to have on my mantelpiece. And we as Democrats will continue to encourage, cajole, do everything we can to move an agenda forward to address these critical issues of our country. Jobs, infrastructure, immigration reform, and the list goes on. We have the ability to get this done if the Republicans who set the agenda would start moving on these issues as well. And with that, we're going to hear from Rob Andrews from New Jersey.
Thank you. We did take one action in the caucus this morning. We voted unanimously to buy Mrs. Crowley an Amtrak ticket. She'll be arriving at about 1 o'clock to try to whip things into line. About 6 weeks ago, the Republicans finally realized the recklessness of their government shutdown, the harm it was doing to people of the country, and came to an agreement with those of us who wanted it to end all along, to end the government shutdown. The story then became the very real and difficult problems many Americans were having signing up under the Affordable Care Act. And we listened to our constituents and said to the administration, listen, you need to get to work in fixing these problems. You need to make this law work for the American people. And to the credit of the president and his team, they got to work doing that. The president created an option for people that wanted to renew insurance policies that otherwise had been canceled. And people worked day and night around the clock for 5 or 6 weeks to try to make the situation on the website work better. We are very pleased by the news that we heard this morning, and more importantly, the feedback we're getting from our constituents in our districts. Yesterday, as you heard, over 1 million people visited healthcare.gov and started the process of shopping for health insurance coverage. We're now up to about 1.5 million people who have been declared eligible for Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act, which is a significant benefit for many, many people. There's a technical issue, but the time that you wait from one page to morph into another is down now to less than a second, which is what you expect on eBay or what you expect on Accenture or one of the other websites you would visit, Expedia rather, that you would expect to visit. So the administration, to its credit, has gone to work and done its job to address these very real problems. I wish I could say the same thing for the House Republicans. Because while they've spent the last 6 weeks assigning blame and rooting for failure, the House Democrats working with the administration have rolled up our sleeves and gone to work, and we are fixing the problems with the Affordable Care Act. Here's what the House Republicans are refusing to fix. There's a story in this morning's, one of this morning's newspapers that some researchers have found a way to successfully contain exploding aortas in people's hearts. Just a miraculous story about children in particular that they're serving and saving lives by making this happen. It's a miracle story. The National Institute of Health helped to fund that breakthrough research at saving lives of children. That budget's going to be cut by 7% in a couple of weeks if we don't do something about the sequestration. Republicans thus far have done nothing. Yesterday in the House gallery, we had a moving experience where a number of people who love this country, who want a change in our immigration law, have dramatized the need for that change by fasting. And many of them came and brought their children to the House chamber yesterday. And we rose as one on the Democratic side to salute their patriotism, their love of our country, and their selfless pursuit of justice. There's a bill that got 68 votes in the Senate. There are many, many people on both the Democratic and Republican sides who'd like to move similar comprehensive immigration reform. The Speaker refuses to put that up for a vote. There are farmers today toiling across America who don't know the rules under which they're going to be working because a farm bill has not yet been passed because of a single-minded desire by the most reckless elements of the Republican Party to take food and nutrition benefits away from the poorest and most vulnerable Americans. The administration has rolled up its sleeves. We've worked alongside them. There is still work to do, but we are fixing the problems of the Affordable Care Act. Now it is time for Speaker Boehner and the House majority to drop their complaining, roll up their sleeves, and get to work so the House can pass a budget that is balanced and fair that ends sequestration, so that we can finish our work on fixing a broken immigration system with a sensible and humane comprehensive immigration reform bill, and so that we can honor the hard work of America's farmers and America's unemployed and pass legislation and help them before the year is over. We've held up our end of the bargain. Now it's time for them to hold up theirs.
Questions?
This sort of new push to sell Obamacare, I mean, it's the same stuff that you guys have been talking about for 4 years now, pre-existing conditions and people, being able to access Medicaid for the first time. What's gonna change, and is there really a possibility for Democrats to go on offense with this?
I would say that all of us in elected office in 2010 took offense and said, we're going to do something about the close to 50 million Americans who don't have health insurance, and we're going to finally pass legislation that gives Americans a chance to secure what you and I have taken for granted, and that's the security of knowing I can take my child to a doctor or hospital whenever necessary. We took to the offense back in 2010, and now we're beginning to see the implementation of the work that was done in 2010. It hasn't gone as smoothly as we'd like, but we're about fixing it and making it work. And it's not a matter of trying to now take offense or defense on this. It's just a matter of making it work. And while the launch wasn't as good as some people would like when it comes to the website, while some members of our American community still aren't completely clear on how to go about the process of applying, what we're going to do is try to make sure that they can ultimately see the fruits of this new health security law. So for us, it's not a matter of offense or defense. It's about making it work and making sure Americans finally secure that quality, affordable health care that guarantees them that they won't face what Americans faced in the past. That is that half of all personal bankruptcies in this country were due to a medical bill because the family wasn't able to cover the cost of having gone to a hospital. And so now that you have access to health insurance, good quality, affordable health insurance, you won't have to worry about that. Offense or defense, it makes no difference to us. It's about making it work. And that's why we had the administration here to talk to us about what they're doing to make it work better. and why we're going to continue to make it work instead of trying to dismantle it. So for us, it's an issue of just making something work that gives Americans more quality in their life.
Can I also just add to that, if I might? What's going to change and what has changed is people's lives. You know, and I'm not being critical of journalists, at least not in this instance. When traffic passes through an intersection, you don't write a story about it. You write a story when there's an accident. And so there's a very real story about the problems with the website. But there's a lot of other real stories that have been happening for several years and will happen now, that there are 23-year-olds who graduated from college who are on their parents' health insurance, but 3 million of them that have health insurance today that would not. There are millions of Medicare recipients, seniors and peoples with a disability, who have seen a $1,000 a year benefit in their prescription drug costs because of closing the donut hole, and that is continuing. There are people with breast cancer, with asthma, with diabetes, who for the first time are able to sign up for health insurance at the same price that their neighbors who do not have a pre-existing condition would. Trust me, I'm not saying that it's the job of the media to write good news stories. I know that that's not the nature of give and take under the First Amendment. But the reality here is that millions of people have already benefited under this law. Millions more will in the weeks and months ahead. We acknowledge the fact that there are problems to be fixed for some people, and we are working to do that. What the other side here needs to acknowledge is that farmers have problems. Our immigrant community and our business community has a problem. Our colleges, our military, our homeland defense has a problem because of sequester. Let's get to work on fixing those problems.
Are you at all satisfied the website yesterday was overloaded, people were put in queues, they've done a lot of fixes to this website, but are you satisfied with what they've done? And to use a term that previous administrations used, do you think this is mission accomplished now, or do you think there's still work to be done?
We're working. We think that until every American who has a chance to qualify for these health insurance policies gets it, we've got work to do. But when you have 4 times as many people in November who apply to get an insurance policy than you did in October, that's good news. When the day after 2 months of attacks by our Republican colleagues against the health security law and the website, you still have over 1 million people who log on to the website, it's a good sign that people are still anxious. They want it to work. As Mr. Andrews said, we face the same frustration because we hear from our constituents when it takes them longer than they'd like to get through the process of the website. But as I always point out, Andrew from Los Angeles, who was a bit frustrated because it took him some 3 hours to navigate the website, at the end of the 3 hours, he was rewarded with $6,000 in savings for the year with a new health insurance policy. So when you can save $6,000 in what you pay out of pocket for health care, as he said, I would have waited an entire day. And so what we want to do is make it so he doesn't have to wait an entire day, but we certainly want to make sure that every American can say they're going to be saving more money and have the security of knowing they can take their children to the doctor or any family member to the doctor when necessary. So we want to continue to see progress, but we're pleased that the administration was able to achieve its goal of making sure that the vast majority of Americans can access the information they need to pick a health care policy.
Are you satisfied with the fixes so far?
From what we've heard, there's been a great deal of progress, and what we're seeing and hearing is that more and more Americans are not just logging on and getting through the process, but actually making selections, including among those people, these 3 members of Congress who also have to make a selection through the websites or through the different portals to get our insurance through the new marketplaces.
Can I ask a follow-up? Was there any discussion this morning about the error rate among the people who signed up? I think the Post had a story today that said that up to a third of those who have enrolled have got some errors, and I think the insurers are complaining about that. Did you talk about that with the administration, and was there a discussion of how many errors?
I know there was some discussion in terms of the statistical breakdown in terms of the error rate and how that has gone down consistently over time. So I think it really comes back to what Mr. Becerra said before in terms of satisfied. We won't be satisfied until every person who wants insurance in this country has the opportunity to purchase that, be it through the internet or through an individual or through an insurance company to get that access. It's not about mission accomplished. It's about a mission that continues and will continue forever. This is never something that just goes away. And we're going to hopefully in the future provide even greater opportunity for people to access affordability. The Obamacare is about affordable care. It's about affordable care, giving opportunity for people in the past who haven't afforded the opportunity to own insurance, to have insurance to cover it for their families.
Question, please, on the plastic gun vote. I'll start with Congressman Andrews. You know, the late Senator Lautenberg always took a chance to tighten legislation when he could. Will you be disappointed if you just extend the ban on plastic guns?
I'm going to vote to extend the ban. I'm very disappointed we can't get a vote on a background check bill, which a huge majority of Americans support. If the House Republicans put up a background check bill, I believe it would pass. I'm very disappointed they won't put up a bill that would ban high-capacity magazines, because I think that would have a chance to pass. And the Senate has tried to take action. They fell victim to the filibuster rule. House has done nothing in the nearly 1 year since the Newtown tragedy. I'm very disappointed in that.
The Democrats have wanted, let's say, a metal component inclusion in the restriction to help detectability for such weapons. Why are you not fighting for that?
Because we're not in the majority. And I assure you that if in November of 14 the voters entrust the governance of this institution to Democrats, there will be sensible legislation on many fronts. But we're in a position now where we have a speaker who refuses to acknowledge the governing majority, not only in the country, but in the House of Representatives itself. This is another example of that.
Yeah, just making one point, putting aside the error rate, I want to talk about the failure rate. The failure of this Congress to act on the most important issues engaging the American people today. We have a number of bills coming up on the floor today that are not insignificant, but they are not answering the cry, the human cry of the American people. Someone who wants a job who can't get one. Someone whose family has been destroyed because of violence and gun violence. Families who yearn for the opportunity to become American citizens, who heretofore have been denied that opportunity, and to correct the problems with our immigration system overall. And the list goes on and on. It's a failure rate that we're dealing with here in Congress. We have 8 days to accomplish many, many things. Now is not the time for talk, it's the time for action, and we call upon Republican colleagues to get working on these issues.
To follow up on the gun question, with the 3D printing also not being included in this issue, do you think the Senate should be amending this bill and sending it back with these added elements, the metal piece of it, and the 3D addressing the face?
And look, I think the Senate should do the best it can to protect the American people against gun violence. But Senator Reid has to work under the strictures of a 60-vote rule, at least on these kind of questions. And as a practical matter, it looks like the choice before the country and the Congress is whether to let this ban on the plastics expire or not. It should not expire. And there's lots of things we do if we had a world where majority ruled and we were in the majority here. But we're going to have to practice the art of the possible and pass the best law we can.
Any final questions?
Did you have thoughts to Mr. Becerra on that?
Let's take the other question.
Can I just ask what you think the prospects are for a budget deal? We're getting very close to the deadline.
I think our Republican colleagues learned a lesson when they shut down the government on October the 1st and realized that the American people aren't interested in that kind of political shenanigans because Americans are affected. Over 800,000 Americans couldn't go to work the next day as a result of the Republican shutdown of our government. And I believe we all saw the cost, over $20 billion in cost by having Republicans decide they wanted to shut down the government. So I certainly believe that everyone is taking the attitude in this budget conference that we have to get the work done. The difficulty seems to be that our Republican colleagues have put real obstacles to getting a big deal done to take America to the next stage, next level, by saying they won't consider this, they won't consider that, by taking so many things off the table before the negotiations even started. Having said that, to the degree that a deal is possible, we hope that it's a deal that's in the interest of the American people, not in the interest of special interests, that it protects the American public that's trying to go back to work and not protect those who are getting tax breaks that help them continue to live off the public trough. We hope that the budget conferees understand that the American people are looking for us to give some good direction, and American business is looking for Congress in these conferees to give some stability so that American business knows what it can do to invest, to create more job opportunities, to expand its operations. Whether we end up with a deal or not, I do believe that the Republican shutdown of our government has taught a lot of politicians a lesson, and that is that don't tinker with the livelihood of the American people. And so I'm more optimistic that a deal can be reached. Unfortunately, I think that rather than get to a point where we really get a good deal for the American public that helps launch the American economy and create more jobs, I think we're going to end up with something very modest. And the American public will wonder why, again, we continue to have this, seems like this psyche of failure, this obsession with doing things that are going to go nowhere instead of doing the work of the American people. So I think if we have modest sights on what can be accomplished, we can get there. But I think America's ready for a home run, not just a walk. With that, we'll
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies and